Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew, with you here as always. This is Go Again, a fabulous video cast covering the trading card game Flesh and Blood. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando.
Hello everyone, my name's Andrew, and I'm really bad at playing Chane. Alright guys, all jokes aside, thanks for tuning in. Glad to have you join me today. Doing something a little different, most certainly in the Fab content creator world, because it seems that I don't know if you've noticed, every Fab content creator has all the answers for everything, and it's kind of interesting. And instead, tonight, what I want to talk about are my personal struggles playing Chane. It's actually been really bad. Like, I'm actually so bad that, I couldn't learn for a while, but, I've made some progress. So that's what I want to talk about today is Chane. He's obviously good, no secret there. He kind of breaks all the rules out there, but I've really struggled with him at a personal level, and I know that maybe others are having problems with him too. And I wanted to talk about my struggles, what I've learned, go through that process, in the hope that maybe it helps others, or even if you're freaking awesome at Chane, you're the best guy in the world, and Andrew's an idiot, great. Maybe you can learn something too. Hey Fab folks, thanks for tuning in again to Go Again, a fabulous cast here on Dice Commando. Like I said, I was having a little bit of fun on the intro, but I mean, it kind of wasn't fun, right? I really have struggled trying to learn Chane, and let me just address something coming out of the gate, because the Fab community is what it is. Let's be honest, right? I'm not saying Chane is bad. That is that's like 180 degrees from what I'm saying. I'm not saying Chane's bad. What I'm saying is I know Chane's good, which is why I've been trying to learn how to play him, and I personally struggle with learning how to play him. That is what I am saying. So tonight I want to talk about, my struggles, how that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't think I'm a bad Fab player. I really don't. But I've struggled with Chane as a play type, and actually that's actually one of the things that I appreciate about Flesh and Blood the game, is how it has different play styles, right? So I mean, let's talk about Chane for a second in terms of play style, right? For me, he's a little too YOLO, right? YOLO being you only live once, right? That's what that acronym means, right? For me, Chane's a little too YOLO, right? One of the things I appreciate about Flesh and Blood is that you draw. I mean, it's a very unique game, right? You draw at the end of your turn, which has a very unique implication to it, meaning that you need to plan ahead through what you don't know what's going to happen into what you want to try to do. It's very, very interesting. There's a problem that needs solved every draw, and Chane kind of takes that and kind of throws it sideways a little bit, because if you're doing what Chane wants to do, you can't plan ahead necessarily. I mean, unless you're opting 5 cards. I mean, anyway, you guys get my point, right? You're trying to plan. In normal Fab, you were to draw, you say, okay, I don't need this, I'll defend with this, this is what my setup would be, but with Chane, you can't do that, right? So I really struggled with him to start, and when in the intro I said that I was so bad that I couldn't learn, what I actually meant was, I came up with a deck list, and the deck, I just lost so badly that I was like, okay, take this deck list, crumple it up, because I'm old and I still write on paper sometimes, crumple it up, delete it from FabDB, whatever is in your lingo, and I threw it away, and you start over. And the way that you get better in Fab is you start with something and you iteratively say, okay, this didn't work, let's modify this. And with me, with Chane, it was, oh my god, this is such a flaming pile of disaster. Throw it in the trash can and let's restart. it actually, it actually drove me to do, and thank you to Dane, and Jason as well. I reached out to both of them and said, hey, and by this I mean from the Outcast Haven. Sorry guys. I reached out to them and said, hey, I'm so bad at this. Help me out, right? Help me learn. Let me look at your deck list. And that's something that I generally fundamentally don't believe in, especially in something like Fab, where you have to in Fab you have to tailor a deck to fit your personal playstyle, your personal decisions, personal preferences. You can't just copy and paste a deck. Net decking is, it's generally associated with a negative thing, and I don't think net decking is a negative thing, but you have to take a net deck and you have to tailor it towards your personal preferences, your personal decisions, and that's something that I'm generally anti, right? But I sunk so low that I had to go out and ask those guys, like, hey, send me your list. Like this, like my pile of disaster of playing Chane so bad. Help me, you guys. Help me out, Cast Haven. You're my only hope, right? So okay. So I've just spent the last couple minutes ranting about how I'm bad, but what am I actually talking? Is this just a rant about how I'm bad at playing Chane? No, it's not. I think it's the point of tonight's cast is, well, twofold actually. I mean, what I really appreciate about Fab overall is how many different playstyles there are. Like Dorinthea and Boltyn really spoke to me. I mean, I think Ira is pretty straightforward in general for everybody, and then you can say what you will about Ira in easy mode. I didn't say that, but other people have, and I might be agreeing, but I didn't say that. But there are others that speak to me in terms of playstyle. Azalea has been a little challenging, but I've really liked that, and I've learned it. But Chane, like I said, coming into this, he's a little too YOLO for me because I can't really plan ahead, and I just don't like that playstyle. And if it speaks to you, that's great. I'm not slamming it at all. I'm just saying that personally, the way that I approach games and the way that I do it, I've had struggles, and other people great with it. I mean, again, no one's saying Chane's bad. It's the data over the last, month to 6 weeks has been pretty clear that like Chane's actually giving Ira a run for her money, which I think makes sense, right? Because if you look at Chane, what does he do by definition? He breaks the card rule of Fab, right? I mean, in Fab, you have 4 cards, sometimes 5, or you do a setup turn to get more, rarely, and Chane gets you access to a lot more than that. I mean, at a cost, completely, like, again, I'm not saying Chane's broken, nothing like that. If you're taking that, it's not what I'm saying, right? But there's certainly a cost to that. But Chane, absolutely 100%, no one can argue with this statement. He breaks the fundamental card limit rule of Flesh and Blood, granted at a cost, right? But you can't plan ahead for that. And I think that's what really makes Chane interesting. And, I went on my whole rant about net decking and stuff, but it's relevant because I think Chane might be the first hero. You could make the same argument for Ira a little bit on the easy mode thing. I didn't say that, but somebody else did. But again, you could make the argument for Chane that he's actually one of the first heroes we've seen where you almost probably could net deck him and do well. And here's why, right? He's very complicated and I don't mean net decking, pick it up and play with no experience, right? You'd have to net deck and practice the hell out of him because the guy's really complicated. So again, if you're doing well with Chane and you took somebody else's deck, I want to be very clear here. I feel like I'm just backpedaling constantly here with all my statements, which means I'm probably not doing a good job. But my point here, what I'm driving to here, is that I feel that Chane's deck build, with the way that he works, probably is one of the more technical and set builds, right? Like you have to have, it's pretty agreed out there, right, that you have to have about 50% blood debt and about 50% not. And then you have to go look in the non-attack, right, because you have Bounding Demagon, you have Hallowed Rites, right, the ones that specifically require a non-attack to be played to get them out. So you have to carefully balance your blood debt versus your non-blood debt. You have to carefully balance your attack reacts or your non-attacks versus your attacks. You have to very balance. And that's why I think that Chane is one of those guys that probably someone's going to come up with the ultimate build or close to it, right? Where maybe you swap 1 or 2 cards in a Classic Constructed and Chane will be there and he'll be solved, right? And you just have to learn how to play into that deck. Whereas if you take someone like an Azalea or a Boltyn or a Dorinthea, there are a lot of, fundamentally different ways that you could build that deck. Like, do I play Driving Blade? Do I not? Do I, go for something else? Do I not, right? There are a lot more options there based on your play style, how you like to play. Do you like to play a little more defensively? Do you like to play? But Chane is basically just like all gas, don't really defend, make sure you get what you need, swing, 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 YOLO, baby, right? And that's why I think it's very interesting with Chane, and I think that's why I've personally struggled, is like, one of the cards when I built, and still the deck build that I have right now, I don't see Vigor Rush. I don't see that card in any of the winning Chane deck lists, and I don't really understand why. But on the other hand, I'm losing all the time. So it's one of those things. It's like, well, I'm playing a bunch of non-attack reacts. Why wouldn't I want to play this 1-for-1 with 4 with Go Again? Like, it seems to me that would be really good. But it seems to me that would be really good with the way that I like to play. And clearly it's not, because the people who are actually winning with it aren't playing with it, right? So that's more what I'm trying to talk about today through all of the ranting to get here, is dealing with my struggles of trying to get up to par with Chane. I mean, whether or not he ends up being my end hero, actually not what he's not going to be my end hero. Like, I really like Boltyn, not a Monarch. You guys know where I stand on the other heroes, but I feel it's important to learn how to play the other heroes so that I know how to play against them, right? And one of the ones that I've really been struggling with, obviously, because that's the point of today, is Chane. And it's been hard for me because some of the options that I think should really work with him don't. And that's why I've come to that conclusion that I think Chane's one of those ones where, net decking's probably an okay thing, because, you have to find the right ratios. Generally when someone asks the question, what's the right pitch ratio for X, I'm like, that's not an answer, but for Chane, I think it is, right? I think you probably need somewhere around 25 to 30% blues. You need 50% not blood debt. You probably need 40%-ish, non-attack reacts, or not reacts, sorry, I keep saying that, non-attack actions. That depend, that actually, speaking of attack reacts, it probably depends whether you're playing Razor Reflex or not for the weapon. I don't know. There's a lot of really, Chane is very, very, very complicated. Very, very complicated, but it's almost one of those things where I think that's why Chane fascinates me, actually, is Chane feels very complicated, but he also feels like one of those guys where if you just kind of don't think about why he's complicated, you can still do well, right? You just kind of deal with what you get, right? And I think that's, and that's really why I, kind of backpedaling again. I think I really want to do, I really want to explain why net decking was a part of my, and again, net decking honestly has, negative connotations with it, and I that's not how I mean it here. Because I think this is one of those cases where, the penalties of not, Chane is a net decker's dream, because the penalties of not understanding what every card does are really minimized in the case of Chane, because you lose so much control with the YOLO-ishness of him. And again, if you disagree with that statement, that's completely fine, because I'm not good at playing this guy, right? But that's how I see it right now, is all you really have to do is find the right mix with him and kind of just YOLO it, right? And if 50% of the field shows up with Chane, some of them are going to do well because they can keep throwing stuff at you that's not in their hand, right? I mean, it seems to work very well with Chane. And in terms of how I've gotten better with him, I'd like to, the easy answer is always reps. And that's true. I have gotten reps with him. But like I said at the beginning, part of the problem was I was actually so bad in my reps that I actually wasn't gaining really any usable knowledge from those reps. So what I did is, I went out and I net decked and I played Jason's version. I think like 3 or 4 times, and I really said, okay, this isn't working for, and that's basically, I guess that's the starting point, is you actually do have to go kind of net deck a Chane, or if you're in my position, right? If you're in my position, you get that, and then you say, okay, here's how this person's playing it. Again, that doesn't fit my personal play style because I don't like this or this or this. I can try to be a little more reliable, like throwing in a Vigor Rush or something like that, which again, I realize no one's playing except for this crazy person who's losing all the time, and then he says, play it. I get you. But my point, my takeaway here is, you have to work within your means. If you know that you like to play a little more conservatively, probably don't play Chane anyway. But you can at least try and fix him a little bit. So anyway, I don't know. I'm really bad at Chane. I'm working on it though. I got a whole bunch of his rares and stuff. Thank you, Josh, for hooking me up with what I needed for my constructed. I do think Chane's going to be better in constructed, but he's sure as hell making waves in Blitz, and the data does not deny that. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, folks. That's about it for today. I just wanted to remind everybody, if you were in the area, you're traveling, whatever it may be, please come hang out with us at Gongai Games, www.gongai.com. 10% off your purchase for Commando 10. I don't see anything from that. I want to be very clear about that, but it helps you, and it gives my LGS some sales, which keeps them in business. And then my buddy over at Fab Foundry, if you use the code below when you purchase your singles, I get a small kickback from that. Keeps me happy, keeps him happy. He also does a really, really good job. He's got some other really big news. Go check that out on the site. So anyway, folks, thank you for joining me tonight for my rant on Chane. And if nothing else, go Commando.